Terrebonne Parish School District is now hiring bus drivers. A valid CDL is required. If you don't have a CDL, we have paid training available. You must be able to pass a medical health exam and a drug test. Our salary range is very competitive with similar jobs starting at $26 per hour. Benefits include free health insurance and retirement. Contact the TPSD Transportation Office at 876-7400 or apply online at www.tpsd.org.
Good evening and welcome to our show, Going Public. I'm Renee Fonseca, and joining us tonight are Mark Torbert, the Child Welfare and Attendance Director for the Terrebonne Parish School District, and Bernadette Pickett, the Assistant District Attorney from the Terrebonne Parish District Attorney's Office. I want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Today, we're going to go over a topic that's very important, truancy. Can you go into the statistics of truancy within our district, Mr. Torbert?
Well, ironically, we talked about this earlier today. State numbers, recent articles have been posted where state numbers are a little different from ours. We're roughly speaking, we're about 20% truant in our district, although some of the state numbers, like I said, may fluctuate some depending on how they pull the numbers. Because under the statutes, and Bernadette may chime in on this, but under the statutes, a kid is truant who has 5 or more unexcused tardies or unexcused absences. And so it kind of throws the numbers off just a little bit of how that's being calculated at the state level.
So what are the specific laws governing our truancy? You just mentioned the 5. Is it more than that, or is that the Louisiana state law?
It is Louisiana statute, and I may turn it over to Bernadette to get more in the technical side of it.
Yeah, the state statutes is a revised statute 17221 to 17223, and it talks about a child being truant who misses 5 days per semester. So it's 10 a year, and those 5, they add up very quickly, but that's unexcused absences. And the school board's known to work very well with the kids, but what people don't realize is when we talk about truancy, we're talking about the kids and the parents. So parents can be held responsible if the child misses school. So a few years back, more than a few years back, I won't tell how long ago, Mr. Waits came up with a program with the assistance of the school board as well as the administration of the school board office. And the DA's office kind of oversees a program where we monitor the kids who are truant. The school board has allowed us access, and we can watch these kids and monitor these kids, and we have meetings monthly, sometimes twice a month, depending on the numbers we have. So our program is called TRIP, Truancy Reduction Intervention Program, and it's the staff of the DA's office. I have 3 or 4 ladies in that program, and Mr. Tolbert, as well as some people from his office, and they meet with these kids, and we figure out what the issue is. If you read the law, you have to realize that truancy is what we call a status offense. So I can't just automatically charge a 12-year-old with truancy. I have to bring him into a committee and see what's going on. And a lot of times there are valid reasons that they're missing school, and then sometimes they just don't want to be there. So we figure that out, and we work with these kids and this family to see how we can help them, how we can get them back in school, and what's the best way to handle this truancy epidemic. 15 years ago, I'd be in court and we'd have kids who had missed 100 days of school, and we figured out something had to be done. So with the assistance and knowledge of Mr. Waits, who decided, I'm not just going to put everybody in jail and punish everybody. We have to figure this out, and that's when we partnered with the school board.
And besides the program, what other legal action can be taken against parents or guardians for consistent truancy?
Well, the parents, we prosecute them under the improper supervision statute here in Houma. You have the ability to prosecute them under the truancy statute, but we prosecute them under improper supervision. And the parents can get a $500 fine, up to 90 days in jail, maybe community service work in conjunction with family counseling. So there's a lot of things parents need to realize, that when little Johnny doesn't want to get up in the morning, they can be held responsible. And the truancy law is really harp on the parent making sure the child's doing what they're supposed to do.
And can the child also face any kind of legal consequence?
Yes, and it gets tedious at that point because the child has to be referred to what we call offense. It's a status offense. So the child, I can't just pick up a child and arrest them and send them to jail for missing school. They have to go through a hearing, and then we figure out what's going on. And if they continue to be truant, then we can refer them to Judge Hagan, and Judge Hagan will probably put them on probation. And if they violate the probation, then they can go to jail. So it is a process, and it's something that needs to be continually looked at. And as Mr. Tolbert said earlier, the numbers have reduced over the years, but it's because of the school board's efforts in working with us and making sure these kids stay in school.
And when it comes to the district, at what point does the district get involved and refer the child to the district attorney's office?
Well, there's a couple of steps that we do on our level. First off, Renee, students that have 3 consecutive or 3 unexcused days, I should say, they receive a letter from the school to say, as a warning type of thing. Then it goes on to usually day number 5 as well. Just again, is to heighten their sensitivity to the issue, to know that this is adding up, as Ms. Pickett already mentioned, that it can add up pretty quick. And then day 7, generally the DA's office will step in. Again, a kid's not truant until day 11. However, by day 7, we see the pattern developing to where it's something to try to step in before it gets too out of hand.
All right, well, we do have to take a short break. Please continue to join us after the break. Thank you.
Terrebonne Parish School District is now hiring bus drivers. A valid CDL is required. If you don't have a CDL, we have paid training available. You must be able to pass a medical health exam and a drug test. Our salary range is very competitive with similar jobs starting at $26 per hour. Benefits include free health insurance and retirement. Contact the TPSD Transportation Office at 876-7400 or apply online at www.tpsd.org.
Welcome back to Going Public. If you are just joining us tonight, I'm Renee Fonseca, and joining us tonight are Mark Torbert, the Child Welfare and Attendance Director from the Terrebonne Parish School District, and Bernadette Pickett from the Terrebonne Parish District Attorney's Office. I want to thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Before the break, we were getting into some truancy questions, what it actually entailed, what was the law, that kind of thing. One of the biggest questions parents may face would be, what is the difference between an unexcused absence and an excused absence?
Yeah, good question, because at a recent board meeting, they just adjusted the policies regarding that because of changes in the statutes that drive a lot of our policies. And one of those is, in a way, kind of cleaning up the definition of it, because they had unexempted or exempted, excused, non-excused, all that was included in the same. So with that adjustment, they went to strictly just 3 ways a person can be absent from school. And it's excused, which is your traditional doctor's appointments, anything with affiliated with legal, a court, a lawyer, things like that, church, things like that. But then unexcused is anything outside of that. A parent note is not excused in the eyes of an excused absence. It is confusing to some because of COVID and other issues that affected our community over the last few years, where they were accepted at one point, but now they're not. And it's important to understand that the excuse that a parent should write gives a student the opportunity to make up or make arrangements to make up work with the teacher. And then the third category is suspension or expulsion. If a student is suspended or expelled, then those days are not counted toward the unexcused total.
So how do we handle cases, extenuating circumstances, whenever truancy is linked to homelessness, special education, and those types of circumstances?
Sure, good question. Because that's one of the meeting that Ms. Pickett mentioned earlier, or the hearing, whichever way you want to define it. A lot of times, the situations that are affecting a kid's attendance comes out of that, not necessarily because a kid is just truly not wanting to go to school. Sometimes it's transportation issues, sometimes it's issues in the home. in that or medical issues, significant medical issues with the parents or other family members, that kind of thing that affects it. And when those things come to light, then we're able to make adjustments. And with the assistance of the different programs that were mentioned earlier, FINS and other groups that help with that, then we're able to work with those individual families and get them some assistance in a lot of ways in pointing them in a direction that will help with the follow-up, whether it be different programs such as you mentioned, McKinney-Vento, things like that. They can get them some assistance. Sometimes it's a simple thing of they just can't get a uniform. Well, we have resources that can help them out with those kind of things.
And what does the data show in regards to truancy and grades? Do we have any statistics or data?
Offhand, I wouldn't be able to give you specifics, but I can tell you obviously one and the same. If it's just like us, right? If you don't show up for work, you're not being successful at work. And it's the same thing for students in the classroom. You can see a direct correlation between a kid not being there and their performance. They may still be able to pass a course, but at the same time, they're not passing at the ability they should or can. And so obviously, if you're not in the seat, you're not getting what's being put out there, and it does affect not only the teacher made tests, but also eventually their graduation requirements, things like that in the long run.
And does a student have any options if they're continuously truant? Can they have other options such as credit recovery, or can they virtual learning?
There are different programs out there, and we do, like I said, on the individual basis, we look at what could maybe benefit the student. Sometimes we talk adult ed with the student because if we see, depending on their age, depending on the credits they have or don't have, then we kind of talk with them on that. We have our adult ed program that Mr. Corey Butler and Ms. Sandra Smith, who handle that for us, they review a student's packet, and then if they're a decent candidate for that program, then they're given more information to try to look at that. That's just one example.
And I know we talked about, COVID affecting the rates, and so did Ida.
Mm-hmm.
Are we noticing any other trends at this point?
I know from our perspective, it seems to be the case. I'll turn it over to Ms. Pickett. She can.
I see the difference in the number of kids that we are actually seeing now. The kids are back in school. The school board is on top of all the attendance and everything, and I think the numbers are going down. COVID and Ida was a horrific matters, and we saw the numbers decrease, not because we saw the numbers increase, we saw the number of kids coming back to school slowly because they were displaced. But now all of that's back in place, and we have a good handle on it. So the truancy numbers are going down, everyone's on top of it, and it was always important, but we didn't want to burden the family when they had all this other stuff going around. So as important as it is and was to go to school, it was more important for them to get back to their comfort zone. And I think, God willing, we're there now, and we can help these kids stay on track with school.
Now, are you witnessing any success rates within the programs that your office offers?
Oh, absolutely. It's a win-win working with the school board. It's a win-win for the parents. It's a win-win for the kids. And they see that we're doing it for their own good. As mentioned, a lot of things come out of those meetings. Unfortunately, we may see kids who are victims of crime or something happening to a parent. Years ago, we found out that a mom had been held hostage by her boyfriend, and the kid had missed all of the school. And all of that came out of our little trip meeting, as we call it. And, that person was prosecuted and is spending years in jail. So we do everything we can. Truancy is a special program because it's helping families, and it's helping parents realize that you're not in this by yourself. You might have that 14-year-old boy that towers over mom, but he's not going to ball up that letter that has Joe Waite's name on the top and can do something. And the school board's always willing to help these kids, and they want them to pass, and we just want to be there to help them.
And what role can community organizations play in helping kids attend school?
I think everybody can get involved, and if you see something, say something. And and if these people are encouraging kids to go to school and realize how important it is, and say, if a kid comes in and asks someone at McDonald's if I can have a job, you make sure they're in school first, and then maybe I'll hire you on. Don't put somebody to work at 2:00 in the afternoon and they don't get out till 3:00.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you for joining us both today. You definitely had some valid information. And I would like to thank you, our viewers, for watching. Don't forget to join us every week on Going Public. Good night.
Terrebonne Parish School District is now hiring bus drivers. A valid CDL is required. If you don't have a CDL, we have paid training available. You must be able to pass a medical health exam and a drug test. Our salary range is very competitive with similar jobs starting at $26 per hour. Benefits include free health insurance and retirement. Contact the TPSD Transportation Office at 876-7400 or apply online at www.tpsd.org.